Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome me back because it's been a while. It's been a year. Today I'm doing some more vintage baking. This is truly one of my favorite things ever. I can't even explain how much I love it. So today we are going to be making caramel snappers, which I thought that traditional, turtles were copying this recipe. But when I Googled it, I believe turtles have been around since like 1910, which really surprised me. I did not think they were that old. So clearly this is a take on that. But I found this recipe in this cookbook that I've used before, and this is actually going to be like two recipes in one. This is from the 1960s book. This is one of my favorites that I own. So this will be two in one because the recipe for caramel snappers actually calls for caramels. Since I am vegan, I cannot just go buy vegan ones in the store. However, this cookbook contains a recipe for making caramels, which I can easily veganize, so I'm very excited about that. So first up, I will be making the caramels, and then we'll be doing the caramel snappers. All right, so this is actually my first time making caramels. I've never even attempted anything like this before. So the first thing you do is melt 1 cup of butter. The butter that I'm using is, or it says butter or margarine. I'm using this like butter or margarine. It's made with plant-based oils. So they're selling it in sticks now, which is great for baking. So each stick was a half a cup. So I just plopped in the 2 sticks. And once my butter was all nice and melted, we're gonna add in the brown sugar. So you need to add in 2 1/4 cups of brown sugar. And then I just stirred that to combine all of that together. And once that was all combined, then it was time to add in the corn syrup. This is actually the first time I've ever used corn syrup. But I think the recipe called for a light corn syrup, but I don't know if I got light or not because I've never really used it before. I got this brand because it said it was made without high fructose corn syrup. I know that that is not great for you, so I just went with that one. So once that was sufficiently combined, it was time to add in the sweetened condensed milk. So since I'm vegan, I had to replace that with a vegan version. So I'm using this brand of coconut sweetened condensed milk. I've used it a few times before for baking. I find it works quite well. The recipe called for a 14 or 15 ounce can, and we use the metric system in Canada, so our things are labeled in milliliters. So I had to figure out the difference, but it ended up being one and almost another can, so one and probably 2/3 of another can. Anyway, I did my best to estimate. And the recipe said to add this in gradually, so I wanted to make sure I added a bit at a time and kind of combined it all before I just dumped a bunch in. So it did take a while to get all of it added and combined. So once everything was combined, then I got out my candy thermometer, which I actually had to buy for this recipe, and you have to bring it up to 245 degrees, I believe. So I've never done anything like this before, like I said, so I was kind of nervous, but it actually didn't take too long before it was getting up there. It kind of looks scary though when it's happening, because you think okay, this isn't right, but that's why the thermometer comes in handy, so you can see that it's not quite at temperature yet. So the pan I'm using for this is a vintage Fire King, I believe. I think it's called Candle Wick. I don't know, I could be wrong about that, but it said to use an 8x8 or a 9x9, I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if this is 8x8 or 9x9, but I figured the little bit of difference wasn't going to matter. So I poured it in, and then you're supposed to let it cool. I ended up letting it cool until it was room temperature, and then I actually put it in the fridge. I actually ended up putting it in overnight and leaving it so that I could make sure it was nice and firm. It is quite sticky, and yeah, I just felt like it would be best overnight. And I forgot to mention, and I don't know if I showed it, but after you take it off of the heat is when you add in the vanilla. So I think it was a teaspoon of vanilla that I added. So once I got it out the next day, it was quite firm, so I was able to cut it, but not one-handed apparently. So once my caramel was ready and I was able to cut it, kind of see that it was all right, now it's time to make the caramel snappers. So obviously we have the caramel, and then we need some pecans and some melted chocolate. Pretty simple. Even simpler if you can just obviously buy caramels, but I don't have that option, so I had to do that first step. So I decided to just put a piece of wax paper down on this little tray that I have and arrange all of my pecans, and then I would add the pieces of caramel. I'm not sure I did the best job at arranging them into a turtle shape, but I did the best I could, and I kind of just globbed on the caramel. Now in the recipe it said to put it in the oven and let the caramel melt. Now my caramel is quite soft. I don't know if that's from me veganizing it or like maybe not 100% getting the milk ingredient right, where I had to, you know, do that. But I wasn't going to put them in the oven, and then I decided to, and then I kind of regretted it because they probably didn't really need to be melted. So if I made them again, I probably wouldn't do that again. But while they were in the oven, they were literally only in there for like a minute too, and they melted super quick. But I got out my vintage Pyrex double boiler. This is actually the first time I'm using it, even though I've had it for a couple of years. So I just put in some chocolate. It's like accidentally vegan chocolate that is vegan, so doesn't have milk in it, but it almost tastes like milk chocolate. I thought that would be the best for this. For this recipe, you just kind of swirl chocolate on the top, whereas traditional turtles, I believe, are completely coated in chocolate. I think I made them how the recipe said to do it, but I think in the future, if I made them again, I would probably coat them entirely in chocolate because I did find it easier. They're quite sticky, the toffee caramel part, so they kept sticking to whatever they're touching. So I put some on this tray that I have to take a shot for this video, and they were like, there was so much caramel stuff to the bottom of the tray, but that's all right. I did try them. They taste amazing. I think I may have only ever had caramel like once as a vegan, so it was nice to have that like nostalgic taste. My grandparents would always have a big box of turtles at their house every Christmas, so it gave me major nostalgic feels. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.